Hey everyone, how are you today? I'm Wayne Neal from Guitar 4D. Today we're going to be learning the minor pentatonic scale, how to easily play it anywhere on the neck, and how to learn and practice this scale in any key. Let's get started. Okay, here is the fretboard. I've labeled the notes of the sixth string, or the thickest string, the low E string, in those positions, F, G, A, B, C. Today we're going to be looking at the A minor pentatonic scale. And on the fretboard I have the first position or first pattern. There are 5 patterns in total and they cover the length of the guitar neck. So once you learn all 5 patterns, you'll be able to play the A minor pentatonic anywhere on the neck. You'll also be able to move this pattern. Say if you were to move it up to where the G is, you're now in a G minor pentatonic and can play that all over the neck. So once you learn the 5 patterns, how they fit together, you can then move it to any key and play it in any key, okay? So this is the first position. You'll notice that the dots that are highlighted in red, those are what's considered the root note, or in this case, A. So when you're playing in A minor, you want to focus on that root note as a landing spot and usually a starting spot to your solos or improvisation. So you want to learn where those A's are all over the neck as well. And so in this video, I highlight them red so that you can visualize them and see them. I should point out too, if you want to learn these faster and in a deeper way, which what this channel is all about, is study and visualize the pattern. And so you kind of see here that on the low E string you have the red dot on A and then the blue dot on C, and then it moves in 1 fret for 3 strings and then back out for the last 2 strings. And so you just want to visualize that pattern as you're learning how to play it up and down the neck, and it'll help you learn it by visualizing it. In fact, that's the way I play now, as I sort of see that shape and the other shapes all over the neck as I'm playing, and I don't really think too much about one individual shape or what the notes are. I just look for the pattern. Okay, so the way to practice this is to start on that red dot on the A on the low E string and just play every note up and down and then stop when you get back to A. And at the end of this video, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to jump right to it, I'll have all 5 patterns where you can play along with the video. So what is the pentatonic scale and why should we learn it? Well, it's a derivative of the minor scale. So it's 5 notes. Penta means 5, and it's 5 notes that are taken from the minor scale. I should also point out that there's also major pentatonic scale, which we'll cover in a different video. The good news is once you learn these 5 patterns, they're the exact same 5 patterns for the major pentatonic scale. You just approach it differently and play it a little bit differently. So you get a bonus here. There's also the blues scale, which you learn in the context of this minor pentatonic scale. And so again, once you know these 5 patterns, you're going to get a bonus by being able to know and learn the blues scale as well as the major pentatonic scale. But we'll cover those in a different video. The minor pentatonic scale is used in all kinds of genres, of course, rock, blues, jazz. It's really a fundamental of guitar playing and music in general. And once you learn it, many musicians have made their whole career just out of this scale and only play this scale in all the songs that they play. So it's really key. It's a fun scale to play. It's an easy scale to play. And you can play it with all the backing tracks on YouTube or other places that you get your backing tracks, okay? So another important thing to point out is that even though I'm going to show you 5 patterns, and you'll see them in a minute here, it's still only one scale. So you can play that as it's laid out here, If you play from the red dot to the second red dot and back, that's 1 octave. You're playing the minor pentatonic scale in 1 octave. And as you keep going down to that second red dot on the high E string, or the third red dot, I guess, now you've played it in 2 octaves. But you can play those exact same sequence of notes just on the low E string by just going from A to C to D, etc. The same set of notes. You can do that on any string, and you can combine patterns, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So it's really important to learn that it's just one scale, because as you learn the other patterns, you'll see how this scale is connected, and when you're playing, you're going to want to play it as one scale, not as 5 separate patterns. The patterns are really just a memory aid, a mnemonic, to help you learn where these notes are all over the neck, because the guitar is such a weird instrument, unlike the piano, which lays out their notes in a linear fashion from lower notes to higher notes as you move up the keyboard. In the guitar's case, you can move in different directions and go up and down pitches on the fretboard here. So that's what the 5 patterns are. They're a memory aid to help you learn where the notes are. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the second pattern here. What you see now is, before I put it on the fretboard, there's a couple things to point out. In the white space here, these yellow balls now, the yellow dots and the red dots, again, are the A notes, is to visualize this pattern, visualize this shape of notes and the general shape to it, because that'll help you learn it faster. And as I put it on to the fretboard, now you'll see that we have 2 patterns on the fretboard at the same time. Now you'll notice that where the B and C notes are, those frets, they each share now 2 dots each. Why? Because they're the exact same notes. And that's what I want to point out here, is that the second pattern, the yellow dots, plugs perfectly into the first pattern, the blue dots, because they're the same notes. And that's where you'll get to figure out how to play them on one string up and down the neck, or how to move a solo from the first pattern to the second to the third, is because, again, it's one continuous scale. And now you can see in this configuration that if you started where the red dot is on the low E string at A, and you move up to C, your next note on that same string, the yellow dot, would be D. And it's the same as playing the blue dot on the A string at the 5th fret. Those notes are the same. They're the D note. So you can go in many directions, and these shapes and the different color patterns show you how they're connected. So learn one shape at a time, but then you'll be able to combine them, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, now we're going to bring the third shape down. Here, again, look at the pattern. Memorize that pattern, visualize it, see it in your head, close your eyes and see it before you go to bed every night. Visualize these shapes, and it'll help you remember them and learn them more quickly. Now, as I put them onto the fretboard again, you'll see that the notes, the third pattern, if you will, plugs perfectly into the second pattern. Those frets where there are 2 dots within the fret, they're the same note. But what I'm showing you here is the different patterns, color-coded. But the fact is they're the same note. It's just another pattern. Again, I have the root notes highlighted in red so that you can see them there. And memorize where they are, because, again, you're gonna want to land and start solos and emphasize that root note. In many cases, that's the right thing to do. There's a lot more to do, but let's just start with that. Okay, now I'll bring in the 4th pattern. And again, likewise, now we have the light blue dots. They plug perfectly into the third pattern. So on the 12th fret there, where you have two dots on each one except for the B string, you'll see that, again, those are the same notes. And again, you can visualize this pattern by its shape. And as you practice it, be looking at the different notes as you play. Of course, you have to get your fingerings right, but just visualize it. It's like, oh, there's 2 frets between this one, and then only 1 fret between this one, etc. And begin to visualize that. And you'll learn this in no time. It's really quite easy to learn these 5 patterns. And again, you're going to be able to learn the blues scale more quickly and the major pentatonic scale once you have these 5 patterns down. And it's really going to open up your world to a whole new possibility. A lot of guitarists, maybe they've learned the first position, A minor pentatonic, but they never learn these other positions. And even if you've only learned that one position, and now that you've learned the others, it really opens up the neck and gives you a lot more dynamics to play with, and a lot more ability to get sounds out of different part of the neck that you couldn't do if you just knew the one pattern. Okay, so I'll bring in the 5th pattern now. I think most of you should know, and if you don't, that the guitar fretboard repeats itself in terms of note pitches at the 12th fret. So since we're running out of frets, I'm bringing the 5th pattern back up here. Now, you could move that down the neck, and you'll notice that it would plug perfectly into the 4th position, just like every other pattern has plugged into each other. And there's no difference here. But this is the 5th pattern, and you'll notice on the 5th fret, we have every single dot on that fret. And in the first position, pentatonic, those dots were all in the same place too. So again, they plug in on one side of the pattern, if you will, as well as the other side. And that's what makes it very cool. And so we'll bring in the last position here. Now, this is a repeat of the position that's on the 12th fret currently. It's the exact same one, but I'm just bringing it up to the top of the neck here. Exact same notes, just an octave lower. And the dots that are on the nut, they call it, of the guitar near the headstock, see those? Those are open strings. So you're not actually fingering those, you're just plucking the note open. But again, the pattern applies, right? And you're going to want to visualize that pattern. And again, you'll see how that 4th position pattern here at the neck now plugs perfectly into the 5th position. So that's why I repeated this pattern, so that you could see it on the 12th fret where you're actually fingering the 12th fret, and now here in the open string where you're not fingering the open strings, but just plucking them open and then fingering the other dots of the pattern that are on the fretboard. Okay, so that is it, and those are the 5 patterns. Again, very easy to learn. There's no real trick. You'll see some different, well, just learn these 3 notes and you can play it everywhere. I have not found any real easy trick to learning these 5 patterns. You just have to learn them, get them under your fingers. But how should you practice them? Well, again, a little bit on here in the video, you'll be able to play along with the video. But the way you want to practice them and learn them, more importantly, is one pattern at a time. Take the first pattern, learn it, get comfortable with it, just going up and down the neck, nothing special. Then learn the second pattern up and down the neck. And when you feel comfortable with that one, start to play both patterns and mix it up a little bit. Go from an A to an A, from an A in the first pattern to finding an A in the second pattern. Begin to start from the bottom of the neck, the high E string, and work your way to the top of the neck. Or start on a red dot or an A note in the middle of a pattern and go down and then back up. Play it in many different ways, because once you learn these patterns, you almost never want to play it just straight up and down. That's not how you make music and sound musical. And so just practice it in a bunch of different ways. Another great way is to put on an A minor backing track on YouTube or wherever you get them, and just play along with the backing track. Almost every note will sound good as you're playing, and you'll see how it fits in now in a musical context, and you'll begin to be able to experiment with it a little bit, and you'll be able to practice going from the first pattern to the second pattern. And then when you get the third pattern, you can move between all three patterns. And when you learn four patterns, you can move between all four, etc. And that's the way to really get it in your head and under your fingers. The other thing you can do is begin practicing them on just one string. Once you know all five patterns and you can visualize them, begin to play them on one string up and down the neck and get used to playing just on one string, and it'll get you used to shifting patterns and moving up the neck. There's also some sequences you can play, and I'll show you that in a different video. But again, you want to mix it up, play it in different directions, up and down, switch patterns, play along with the backing track, and that'll be the best way to learn it, and you'll learn it more quickly. Okay, so now I'm going to play one pattern at a time, and you'll be able to play along with that pattern on the fretboard. It's at about 80 beats per minute, so not too fast, but not too slow either. So what you could do is get a metronome and slow it down or speed it up, but you'll still have this as a reference and a visualization of the patterns. Okay? Thank you very much, and we will catch you all later. Bye-bye. So if you like this video or got some value out of it, please like it and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. Okay, here's the first pattern. We're going to play it starting on the red A note on the low E string. And the dots are going to highlight, and we're going to go from that red A note all the way down and back up again. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here is position 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here is position 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here is the fourth pattern, starting on 1, 2, 3, 4. And finally, we have the fifth and last pattern, starting on 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you learned it faster, easier, and deeper. And if you got some value out of it, please like it, and please subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of new videos that come out. Catch you next time, guys. Bye.